I have seen that software is not doing good in the US at the moment. While doing that 1 year job in India, I realized that the cost of living is way too high. Like the amount you are earning and the expenses you are seeing in a month is like not matching up. I gave that question as a midterm question for them, and that exact question was asked to me during the Apple interview. They asked me the exact same question. In a month, you are spending literally around $1,000 uh, if you only cook at home. But if you want to eat outside, sometimes you are going to end up spending around $1,200 in a month. So like you are literally spending 1 lakh Indian rupees just in 1 month. It is definitely not safe all the time, especially there are areas that you can't go alone at night.
I love data. It resolves misinformation. Let's talk to experts, analyze news, and smartly plan your study abroad journey. Hello aspirants, welcome to Videshi Chai. From Tirupati to New York City, Charan was supposed to go to IIT, but life had other plans. With a loan, zero internships, and no seniors to guide him, he landed in one of the most expensive cities to chase his dream in chip design. What followed? A roommate robbed at knife point, $1,250 in rent in Brooklyn, ghosted job applications, and the harsh reality of unpaid internships in tech. This isn't just another study abroad story. This is the raw, unfiltered truth of what it takes to survive and thrive in a hyper-competitive VLSI industry as an international student. Hit play, because this episode might just change how you plan your study abroad journey. Hi Charan, welcome to Videshi Chai.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure, and thanks for making time. And we'll start off with a few questions that we have in mind for you.
Okay.
And I know you come from Tirupati, and initially you were planning for an IIT. So what changed, and how did your journey lead you to pursue a master's degree in the US instead?
So during my undergrad in the very first year itself, I came to know that I can still pursue my higher studies like masters in IIT. I was unable to get into IIT after my intermediate. Like my rank was not good enough to get into an IIT. So in the very first year, I decided that I should prepare for GATE exam and then pursue masters in the like VLSI field, VLSI specialization field. I started taking the coaching from undergrad second year itself. Usually people start their coaching in third year, but I joined in second year. And at the end of second year itself, so GATE newly introduced this scheme that now instead of third year, like second year students are also eligible to give the entrance exam like that. So I gave the entrance exam 1 year before itself, and then I got somewhere around 2,800, but that's not enough. Like you should get somewhere around below 1,000 rank.
Right.
And in the things have turned out in the third year actually. Like I want to do the higher studies, but my mom wants me to get a job, financially help her like that, because a master's is going to take another 2 more years, like yeah, like MTech in India. Like here it is considered Master of Science. So because of my mom, I was trying to parallel study and prepare for jobs, but Indian market software jobs are more in India rather than silicon jobs. So I was getting in touch with the software related jobs, like learning their stuff. I was unable to focus more on the exam, and then in the end, I never made it good in the exam. Like I actually got worse rank than the previous year rank because I was preparing for jobs. Like yeah. So while doing the job, I realized that this is not the field that I'm supposed to be in. I should be doing, studying for masters like in abroad at some point. And then while doing that 1 year job in India, I realized that the cost of living is way too high. Like the amount you are earning and the expenses you are seeing in a month is like not matching up. And I came to know from many of my colleagues and seniors that if you get a job in the abroad, like in US, you can clear off loans very quickly and you can save a lot of money. So I thought like let's do masters and then work there for 3 years as long as the OPT allows me to work, and then we can come back to India, get work in the same field because there are a lot of jobs in India right now in the similar field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very cool story, and I must compliment you for thinking ahead. In the second year, most of the students in engineering colleges are still playing and kind of passing time more than anything. But
Yeah.
you were thinking effectively about your career, about your future. It's very commendable. So, what did your mom have to say? Because you mentioned, she was not in favor of you spending a couple of more years studying. So, what did your mom have to say about you choosing to study abroad?
So when I chose to study abroad, my mom was the first person who is very happy because you know about Indian parents' mentality. They love to say to their relatives that their son or daughter is studying abroad. So my mom was very happy.
Very cool. All
Yeah.
right. Why did you choose this particular field, computer engineering, with a focus on chip design? Why this particular field?
Yeah. So the thing is, after completing my intermediate, I had no clue about what each course is, like what computer science is, what computer engineering is, or electrical engineering or mechanical. I think it's the same with most of the students who just completed their intermediate. Like they really don't know, and they usually follow the guidelines given by their relatives or their parents or cousins. So that was a similar story with me. What I know is that computer science deals with using a computer. Computer, if you take ECE, you can go to either computer science or hardware, and if you take electrical, you can join some PSUs or get a government job like that. And then my relatives were suggesting me to take electrical engineering, but after taking the electrical engineering, I realized that there is not a lot of innovation present in that particular field. Like it's all about some existing concepts or working mechanism that you have to learn, and not a lot of innovation that can be done. Like you can do, but you require a lot of funding to do that innovation. So it's not something that can be done by sitting at home, or something that can be done as a student alone. So scope for innovation is less. That's what I felt that. So while you're doing the electrical engineering, you also get to do some electronic courses because triple stands for electrical and electronics. And I done courses like analog design, like digital logic design. So while doing these two courses, I really enjoyed electronics. So that's when I started digging into what electronic students have. And then I realized that they have areas like communication, VLSI. So all these areas are there. Like you can go to RF field, analog field, like digital VLSI field, or go for communication field. So out of all those, I found digital being the one that lives in the future, because everything today is mostly dealt with the digital signals rather than analog, because carrying analog signals is very highly inefficient. So
Yeah.
I found digital VLSI very interesting. And if you look at the current trend, like every year, companies try to come up with, like Qualcomm, they try to come up with more performance chips. And the way it is done is that they go for lower nanometer technology. So I felt there is a lot of scope in the future for this particular field. So that's why I was very interested in this, and it's fun actually. Like you can do a lot of cool things here. So
Yeah.
it's more like computer science, but you're dealing with a different language here. You have your own hardware language, and there's no concept of lead code and all, but you still do the design. Like given a diagram, you can write a code for that, but in a hardware language like that.
Yeah. Very cool and sounds really cutting edge as well. Right. So the next question we have for you is whether you could help our viewers understand what your coursework look like.
Yeah, sure. So my college curriculum was not like is not having a lot of specialization actually. So the specialization job that I got right now is related to VLSI field, like verification especially. So it usually deals with the design and verification. So I require a coursework that teaches me VLSI design as well as verification. But my course curriculum has actually design, not verification. So verification is something that only fewer colleges is there in the United States, and I did a lot of my personal learning for verification. So the courses that I did was uh, introduction to VLSI, which is like studying the uh, chip at the electrical level. Like instead of the chips in your phone, it's actually dealing with analog kind of circuits. And later, I did the course for digital VLSI. So it's basically more advanced than the undergrad VLSI. So you're going to learn how, like, what is the difference between a FPGA or ASIC, how ASIC time frame works, what is the entire frame line from your idea of designing a chip to all the way to fabricating the chip. And like we learned all the stages of RTL to GDS flow like that. And I also had to do some software related courses like machine learning kind of courses, but I was never interested in those. I just took it because ML AI is ruling the world. So I just want to see what it actually contains. And I didn't really enjoy it, I must say that. And I also done some courses on analog as well, like fundamentals of analog. So it's completely hardware courses, but technically I should have done some verification course as well, but there's no coursework in my college. Like even in my interviews, people were asking me, you don't have a verification course, how did you learn verification? I was like, I started learning it from Udemy, and then I did a lot of personal learning. I got some training from Indian training institutes, like virtually I bought some courses like that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Was there a hands-on
Thanks.
component as well? Because you mentioned hardware. So, what
Yeah.
percentage of your courses, especially the hardware courses, would you say were hands-on or practical?
I would say 50% of the curriculum would be hands on if it comes to VLSI related courses. In fact, we have three VLSI related courses, like very specialized courses. Uh, One is on front end side of VLSI, another one is on back end side. So on front end side, you mostly write the code in hardware specific language, and then you generate some circuits using the synthesis tools. So there, every week you will have a lab assignment. You get to use the industry standard tools like Synopsys. And I was when I was a student of those courses, there used to be very little focus on the lab. Like we used to have lab assignment. It's not very focused. Like there's not a learning in that. So after in the next semester, I became the TA for that course, and I added a lot of lab assignments. Some
Right.
students might have hated it, but there must be a lot of students who enjoy doing it, because when you sit in an interview, uh, this is the exact style of questions they are going to ask you.
Yeah.
So I framed it accordingly. In fact, when I gave a last assignment for the class, and so it's basically designing a sequence detector. It's like, let's say you have a specific pattern 1100 like that. So out of all the bits, you just want to catch a particular pattern like 110. So I gave that question for as a midterm question for them, and that exact question was asked to me during the Apple interview. They asked me the exact same question.
Good thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like you had a lot of fun teaching that, being a TA for that course.
Yeah, I enjoy as in my tenure as a teaching assistant. That's something I always enjoy. Like teaching students is always fun. So it's like a challenge that if someone asks me a question, I should be in a position to answer them. So you should prepare really, really good if you want to be in that position.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about your living experience in the US so far. So you lived in Jersey City, where you're currently. You live in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
what? Tell us, what are your biggest takeaways in terms of cost of living and safety as a student? A lot of students from India go and live in these areas in New York City, and areas around New York City, such as Jersey City?
So Brooklyn, when I lived in Brooklyn, many people had an assumption that Brooklyn is very safe, but the cost of living is very high. So I'll just give a comparison, like how 1 month expenses looks like. So I was living in a room, like it's a 3 bed 1 bath unit, and rent for each student was like 800 something like that. Okay, $800. So it's around the 70,000, something like that, in Indian rupees. So that's for one student. And the current bill is separate, like current and gas bill is separate. So that comes out around $300 to $300. So it will be distributed among 4 students.
Yeah.
Around $70, let's say. And you also have to pay water bill separate. Like there are few, like lot of units doesn't have a water bill separate, but there are few units their water bill is separate. So in a month you are spending literally around $1,000 if you only cook at home. But if you want to eat outside sometimes, you are going to end up spending around $1,200 in a month. So like you're literally spending 1 lakh Indian rupees just in 1 month. But when you live in Jersey City, the rents are 400, like half of the rent on Brooklyn. So in Brooklyn it was 800, here it's 400. And if you eat outside, it's not going to cost you a lot, because New York has higher tax than the Jersey tax is way smaller, like it's 3% something, but in New York it's 8 to 9% tax. Like if you buy an Apple product that costs you $1,000, you're going to end up spending 9% tax on it, which is around $90 to $100. So if you come from India, every time you purchase something, you convert it to Indian rupees.
Yes.
So you will feel like you're literally paying 8,000 rupees just as a tax for buying a product. So it's that expensive. You don't get to see it. Even the prices are same in New York and Jersey. You're going to end up paying 9% tax on top of that. So here the current bill and current and gas is also like $50 less compared to New York. So the commute time is more, like I want to go to Brooklyn every time I have a class. So it takes me 1 hour to reach there. But for Brooklyn people, it will take 30 minutes. So I'm fine with extending my journey for 30 minutes if I get to spend like half of the money in a month.
Yeah. So you will not.
So
Yeah.
safety wise also, it's not bad. Like if you live near Journal Square area in Jersey City, everyone is Indian here. Like if you live near Journal Square, you get to see people like all people are Indians. Like if any American comes to this area, he feels like a foreigner in that area. So it's safe, but see, things always happen. You can't say Brooklyn is 100% safe, Jersey is 100% safe. There's always some areas you can't go alone at night. You should always be with your friends.
And you did mention an incident with your roommate, which was very scary. And tell us a little bit about that, and how real are the safety concerns for Indian students? Because we read about that in papers, but you've lived through it. You've seen an example.
Yes, it is definitely not safe all the time. Especially there are areas that you can't go alone at night. So that day my friend was returning to home at 11:30 in the night, and there is actually a gray area from the train station to my home. Like it's a junction of a road, and there's no like a traffic signal there. So usually what happens is that if there is a traffic signal, it will have a CC camera. So there is no traffic signal there. So he was walking in that area, and someone from backside, he put a knife, asked him to give his ballot. So all this happened. Uh, he would have complained, but he didn't complain. Like he was fine with leaving the wallet. Like you can always block your card, so it's never a big deal. Uh, right now, like many people reported that incident in the exact same spot. So right now there is actually uh, a CC camera setup being in place. So now you feel very safe going in that place. But even in the same spot, if I walk with two other friends or one other friend, no one is going to come at you. So they're only going to come at you if you're going to go alone. So that was the same scenario I faced even during my first semester. Like I was walking like 100 feet like back of my friends. My friends are moving forward. So the other guy was trying to come towards me. He doesn't know that I am with my friends. As soon as he's coming towards me, I realized that he's coming for me. So I started walking little fast. He's also coming little fast. And then I called my friends. I ran towards him, and then that guy took a U-turn and left from there. So situation like this happen when you are going along. But
Oh.
a lot of areas, if there are traffic signals in place, if your house is near the main road area, then you're totally fine. You don't get to see those a lot.
Right. As long as you observe common sense rules about not being out
Right.
alone late in the night in dark areas, I understand. And
Yes.
frankly, that's probably
In
true
fact,
for. Mm,
yeah. In fact, New York City has the worst crime rate. Like
yeah,
you will get to see robberies, all kind of stuff in New York all the time. But the areas like Times Square, even in the areas like Times Square, if you stand on the main road of the Times Square, you're good. But if you go to the streets alone at nights, then it's definitely not safe. But
yeah.
uh, 911 is very helpful actually. Like every time you call them, they will try to resolve. Like I had one office scenario where my friend lost his wallet and phone, and he called the 911. They immediately took the action, got his phone back within 2 hours. So they
Wow.
are really quick and helpful. But it's a big city. You can't expect that every street is a safe area.
Yeah. 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 Okay, got it. Right. On to happier topics. So you mentioned that you landed a job as a TA, right? And that's something that a lot of
Right.
Indian students would want to do because it helps lower your cost. And so, what's your advice? How should juniors, prepare themselves or approach getting a TA or an RA role? What are the best practices to do, and when should we be doing them?
So the first thing is always try for on-campus jobs like the TA or a desk job or anything on campus. Never work off campus, and because it's illegal in the first place, you can't work outside, and you get to study a lot if you work on campus. So let's take my job. My TA job is the max I can work is 20 hours, and for every hour I get paid around $29, and in one single hour I'm paying $3 tax to the government. So uh, in a month I make around $2,000. So like even if I live in
Oh, well,
Brooklyn,
yeah,
my total expense would be $1,200.
yeah,
Since I live in Jersey, my total expense is just $600. So I get to save around $1,400. In fact, I pay my house EMI every month, which is around 60,000 rupees. So my brother cannot pay the house EMI because salaries in India, you know about it, and paying
yeah.
60,000 EMI doesn't make any sense. So I was sending those money to him.
Wow.
So if you get an on-campus job, the pay is really good. And if you join in public universities, like like any public university you take, so if you are a TA, your entire fees for that semester will be waived off. Like you don't need to pay a single penny for that semester, not for the entire masters, just for one semester. But mine is a private college. Like New York University is a private university, so private universities doesn't give that option to you. It's only in public universities. So in private, you will be waived off from the health insurance. So health insurance in a single semester is actually around $900 to $1,100. So that will be waived off. and you get to have your own money for living expenses. But to get a TA job, there are only two ways that you can get it. One, you should be in touch with the professor directly. Like, let's say you're a student in that course, go and speak with your professor after every class. Like something like just look at the news, find some interesting topic, and the topic should be relevant to your professor research area.
Yeah.
Just go and talk to him. Like he will be very happy to talk about that specific topic. So I used to do that in the entire semester,
Nice.
and from that semester onwards, I'm a TA under the professor. So after doing as a TA under that professor for 1 year, there is another professor who was willing to give me a TA job. So I went for that job. I resigned from the previous professor's job. So the other way is you should be in touch with the person who is working as a TA. So let's say I am working as a TA, and when I am leaving that job, I can refer some student for that position to the professor, and then professor can either take an interview or you can directly hire him. So in one semester, I was having two jobs, and the other professor was not happy with me doing the two jobs at the same time. So he gave me the maximum hours and asked me to not work for the other professor. So I recommended my friend for that other position. So he was directly picked as a TA without an interview. Like
Yeah.
so, you can get lucky sometimes if someone refer you. But there is a portal where you can apply for on-campus job that never works. Like I applied for 300 on-campus job. I just got one call, and I didn't even get into that call. That call is for a desk job. Like they didn't even ask me anything. You just get rejected just like that. So always
Yeah.
go for referrals. Yeah, in US it's all
Yeah.
about referrals. Like yeah, that's a full time or on campus.
And even when you said, you referred your friend, I don't think it's just luck. It's also he took the effort to become your friend, and and
Yeah.
therefore you were able
Right.
to help that person. So it's you
Yes.
mentioned networking with professors, networking with fellow students, networking with
Yes.
seniors.
So that's the thing. Like in the first place, he was not hesitated to ask me to refer for the job since
Yeah.
I'm leaving that job. So you should not be hesitated. Like if
You
there
know.
is an opportunity, grab the opportunity. Like
Yeah.
and be good at communication. Like you should be always smiling when you're talking with your fellow students. Try to help them out. You don't need to go into all their personals or try to help them financially. You don't need to do all those stuff. When you're in a college, if someone is coming towards you, just say hi. Like this is something that I observe, like especially in the US. Even if you sit in a barber shop, you get your hair cut, every people working over there will be like, hey, see you, have a good day, bye. So that culture is there here. So every time you go out, you keep coming across people saying hi to you, have a good day, like that. So keep
Yeah.
doing that. Even you can start it sometimes, like wherever you go. So I used to do that even in the college. Like I know some people, a lot of people, but not in a personal way. Like I never went to their homes or they never came to my home. Whenever we are in college, we just say hi and bye, like have some
Yeah.
casual conversation in the course. So that communication should be there. Like
Yeah.
it will be helpful even in your job search. Like a
Yeah.
person might have got an interview call in a particular company, and he will let you know that he got an interview call. So the other student, like the other person, can apply for the job and he can also get an interview call for that. So the same thing happened with me. Like when I got a SpaceX call, I let my friends know that SpaceX is actually hiring. So they also applied. One of the guy also got the interview call. So it always happens.
Yeah. Very important. Yep. So the lesson again for our viewers is network, network, network with your professors, with your
Right.
friends, with your juniors, with people who are not your friends but in your classmates. And that helps out in many ways,
Yes.
right? Including getting on-campus jobs, actual full-time jobs, and just generally makes it more fun rather than just being
Yeah.
limited to your own space. Yeah.
Yeah, people think that communication, like networking, is difficult. Like if you are an introvert, they feel like I can't go and talk to the stranger. It's actually very easy. Like in the entire first semester, I was little hesitant to talk with others. or do communication networking like that. But one thing that I always did is to go and speak with the professor, because I was very much into the VLSI, so I can go and talk to him technical stuff. But I was lagging when it comes to personal, like normal networking. So that's something I kept working on, and it's very simple. Like, if you go and talk to a person, the worst that person can do is to say, I have some work, I need to leave. That's the worst that he can say. He's not going to beat you, right? So that should be kept in mind when people think about networking. The worst they can say is they are busy or something. That's it.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. Very good advice.
Yeah.
Tell me, you applied to SpaceX and you were shortlisted without having any work How did you manage to do that? What was the secret?
Uh, Actually, when you're applying for entry level roles, people, like most of the bigger companies, like man companies, they don't usually expect you to have an internship. That's totally fine. Like, it's an entry level role. Not a lot of people can get an internship. In fact, I'll tell you what, getting a full time job is more difficult than getting an internship. I didn't get any internship last semester, like during my
I think
summer.
you,
I just had one interview.
I think you flipped that around. You meant to say getting an internship is more difficult than getting a full-time job. You flipped that around. Is that what you mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, right, right.
It's okay.
Getting an internship is more difficult than full time. Like, I only got one interview call for my internship and I messed it up. But for full time, I had like 5 calls and I got finally got into 2 jobs. So it's very difficult to get an internship. So the thing is, companies usually want one or two, like one student in one location for an internship. Like, if it's a small company, if it's a bigger company, they usually push all the hired students into scripting. So some job that doesn't require a full-time engineer, like it's a waste of time for a full-time engineer to work on scripting. So they usually hire interns for that position. And so if you look at companies like Apple, Google, they don't directly convert internship to full time. But if you look at medium level companies, if you get an internship, you have 90% chance that they will offer you a full time job. Like, one of my friend did an internship at Cummins and he directly got converted to full time. So that's one of the benefit if you get an internship.
Yeah.
But it's totally fine if you don't get one, because companies like Mang or any, a $1 trillion company, they don't care if you have an internship or not for a full-time position.
That's very good advice. I know I've heard from students who have gotten disappointed at not having gotten an internship. But that's very good advice that, hey, that's not the end of the world. In fact, that's not even expected. Right? You keep your eyes on the ball, you keep preparing yourself, put yourself in the best position through networking, through coursework, through practical work, etc. And when the time for the job hunt comes, go full in, go all in with the
Yeah.
right credentials, right approach, and it'll work out. Right, Jen. So we're down to the last question. So if you had 30 seconds and to give a message to every student in, let's say, Andhra or even India who's applying to study abroad, what would you say?
I think I can answer this question with respect to the VLSI field that I am into. Like, I have seen that software is not doing good in the US at the moment. Like, I have a lot of friends who is trying into software field, but they are not getting any interview calls. But especially the VLSI field, like design and verification roles, there's like lots of demand. Like, every student is guaranteed that they'll get 2 interview calls. But whether it is a software or a hardware like me, even if you get an interview call, you should be in a position to clear that job. So the way full-time jobs work is that you will have 1 hour technical screening interview. So he'll ask you questions on all the areas, and once you clear that screening, you will be invited to a panel interview. So panel interview is like 4, 5, 6. Like, in Apple, I give 7 technical rounds in panel interview. That's the highest I have given. But there are companies that only ask like 4 panel interviews. So there are a lot of rounds that you should be clearing, and you can't just learn it overnight. So that should be something you have to keep working on throughout your masters. So don't waste your time working outside. Like, I know it's financially difficult to survive in the US. Have sufficient amount of loan. Like, let's say your college fees is around 35 lakhs. get a loan of 55 lakhs, and then don't work outside, try on campus. Even if you don't get job for first 2 years, like first 2 semesters on campus, it's totally fine. You should be sitting at home, keep learning stuff, keep an eye out of what the market demands. So in my first year, I was trying for VLSI back end jobs, but after the end of December, I realized that there's only front end jobs. So I shift my focus to front end. In fact, I got 2 jobs in the front end. So you should always, don't go for ego. Like, I know this, I can get a job in this. That's not the way it works. You have to be flexible. Like, if you are in a back end, but the jobs are in front end, you should be flexible enough to learn the front end and keep trying both for back end and front end. So now you have more areas that you can apply for, and use LinkedIn as your main tool. Like, reach out to all the recruiters. Don't need to reach out to an employee, reach out to managers and recruiters. So they will directly get you an interview directly. Like, I had one call directly from LinkedIn. I didn't even apply for the job. I just connected to that person in LinkedIn and they set up a call for me. So networking is the key, whether it's in LinkedIn or in your college. That's my advice.
Very, very good advice. And just one final question out of my curiosity. And I know I said final earlier, but this is the real final.
It's fine. It's fine.
There's a lot of chatter about the job market in the US being difficult, especially for Indian students or essentially people who are not American citizens, so international students. And have you, in your own personal experience at NYU or amongst your friends who have gone to other universities, have you seen evidence of that?
Yes, I did see the evidence on that. It's definitely difficult to get a job in the US, especially in the software field. I know like 90% of the students who are coming here want a software job. Even the students who have done ECE in undergrad, they want to be in the software field. But I think that's a bad idea. If you have done ECE in undergrad and you know VLSI stuff, you can definitely get a lot of interview calls in the VLSI field in the US. So, like the silicon jobs, or like by silicon I mean VLSI jobs. So silicon jobs are lots of jobs are there in the US, especially the VLSI front end side. So if you have done ECE in the undergrad, just continue in the same field. You have a lot of opportunities here. But the drawback is that VLSI field, like the jobs in VLSI field, are only in bigger companies like tech chains like Qualcomm, Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, Intel, so AMD. So you can only apply for jobs in these companies, and people will feel that I can't get a call from Apple, Amazon like that. But it was never true. I actually got calls from Intel, Apple, Amazon. So I give a lot, like SpaceX. I give lots of interviews. So you shouldn't be in a mood that you can't get a job interview from in the bigger tech chains. So apply with a referral. Referral is the key. If someone is working in that company, reach out to that person in LinkedIn. Ask for a referral. Like, let's say if you're applying for an Apple job, so you can reach out to 20 students, like 20 employees working in Apple, ask for referral. Like when you send a connection request, you can add a note in LinkedIn. So have a pre-prepared note, say use that note to send it to all the people, and 1% out of those 20 or 30 will be willing to give you a referral. So that's what happens. It's not difficult to get in referral. So always apply with referrals. The point of applying with referrals is that you can skip the ATS, which is like resume screening. So the tool checks for a particular keywords, and you might miss it, which is totally fine. So apply with a referral. You can skip that part. Yeah, so the recruiter can directly see your resume right now. So that's one thing. And software is really bad. I'll definitely agree with that. Like my friends are not getting any calls, and I feel for them. Like in the end of the day, you want everyone of you and your friends to get a job. Clear their student loans. So software is job. So if someone is trying to come to US and leave a high paying job in India for getting a software job here, I think you should think again, because like I have seen people with 4 5 years of experience after doing masters are not getting any calls. That's a bad reality. But for Silicon Valley, there's no problem at all. In fact, there are more jobs than the previous year at the moment, and many people are getting interview calls. So that's the scenario at the moment.
Got it. That's very good advice, by the way. So for students coming in, that it's not so essentially, if I were to generalize that, right, it's about being aligned with the market demand. So currently the job demand in software through various research forums is down by 25-30% year over year. So, and the way to get around that is to look at what other opportunities are there. As you mentioned, this is one area, and I'm sure there are others as well. So be more aligned and more selective in your course choice, and don't necessarily follow the most popular choice, which is software, but be more mindful and more intentional about what is selected.
Right. Also, one last thing. I didn't get into SpaceX. Like SpaceX was the first interview that I gave. I went all the way to Irvine, California to give their in-person, like panel interviews can be in person or virtual. So I gave SpaceX first. I actually got rejected in the fourth round, and after that I gave Intel interview. I got rejected in that, and then I gave Apple. I got rejection from that. Then I got into Amazon and Intel. So actually, I'm going for Amazon job. So I was just wanted to let you know, because I see that you kept mentioning about SpaceX. I just want to clear things, like I didn't get into SpaceX.
I think what's important is that you kept trying after the other, and took all your interviews and selection process with the right level of the sincerity, with the right level of diligence. That's where the success is. There'll always be misses. There's no foolproof way of succeeding. You can't have 100% success rate.
Right. So that's what happened for me. Like after every interview, I was not sad that I got rejected from the job. I looked at the bright side. Like I started preparing for this specific role in December, and I was able to get to the fourth round in the panel interview of SpaceX. So whatever questions they asked is actually like a stones for my next interview. So when I sat in Intel interview, I learned that they were more from computer architecture. So I prepared computer architecture. When I sat in SpaceX interview, they were asking more about how do you handle this sending of data by using a queue, associative arrays, like that. So this is the approach they want. So I was preparing those two when I sit for Apple interview. And in Apple, they had a different set of questions. So I was gathering all these questions, made a particular folder out of it. And then when I sat for Amazon interview, it's like a cakewalk for me. Every question they asked, I just nailed those questions. Same for after or another interview. Like, so if you keep giving the interviews, you shouldn't be sad that you lost the job. You should look at the bright side. Like, whatever areas you missed in the previous interview, are you able to nail it in the next interview? Like, it's not like you gave a right answer. You should nail the answer.
Yeah.
So that's the way you should think about rejection in an interview.
That's very good advice as well. This has been fun, Charan. So thank you so much for giving your time. I think there have been several good nuggets of advice for our viewers, and a very interesting, relevant, high demand field. And my congratulations to you for all the success and best wishes going forward in your career. Appreciate you making the time to sort of give back to your juniors and people who are still studying, planning to study abroad.
Thank you, and also thank you for having me. I always enjoy podcasts, like especially if it is about, if someone got a job and he's giving a podcast about how he got the job, I go and look at it, even it's an 1 hour video. So, for me, getting an opportunity to sit and talk with the market and all the areas, I feel very honored to be there. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Wish you all the best.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Videshi Chai. Thanks a lot, Charan, for being a part of this episode. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors. If you're someone staring at a university admit letter or still figuring out how to afford one, this episode should be your reality check and your roadmap. Got questions for Charan? Drop them in the comments below or DM us. Until next time, keep sipping that chai and chasing those Videshi dreams.